Tonight on the BigFooty Blues podcast, it's broken hearts all around as we discuss last week's loss to Essendon. We take a look at the game plan, and a newcomer takes aim at the biggest of targets. All that and more coming right up. And welcome to episode 7 of the 2014 BigFooty Blues podcast. With you in perpetual frustration, I'm your host, ODN. Joining me tonight, after a frustrating week of supporting, he's had to review his choice of username. It's Happy Dude.
Insert witty remark here.
After a week off, she is back to help us keep everything in perspective. Perhaps because the Eddie stealing Crows are also yet to win a game. It's Meggie.
Hey guys.
Winning more praise for his shouting last week than a lotto-winning barfly, it's Shandog.
Hello.
And joining us for the first time, and time will tell if he's hopping mad, please give a great BigFooty Blues welcome to the Toad.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. You picked a hell of a week to come on.
Yes, I have, haven't I?
You have. Folks, in light of a forum meltdown and a media frenzy surrounding Carlton's meek capitulation last Sunday night and their 0-3 start to the season, we've called an extraordinary general podcast to discuss where we are at. There may be tears, there may be anger, there may be denial, there may be a voice of reason. Let's see how this unfolds. Starting off with Sunday night, as I said, on Sunday night, Essendon 21-12, 138 defeated Carlton 8-9-57. I'm not even going to bother getting into the goal scorers. We didn't have too many of them, and our best were token at best. Did anybody have any particular opinions they want to share on how that game goes? Does anyone want to jump up and go first?
Wait, what's the rating for this podcast? Is it PG?
Oh, keep it PG, mate.
Well, okay, well, I better not go first then.
There might be kids listening.
Happy Dude, we'll start off with you.
Oh, it was crap. There was just, I saw people on the boards mentioning about what's our game plan and all this sort of stuff, and it's really hard to judge the game plan when all you do is kick it to Essendon and fall over. Unless we're practicing that all week, I really don't see how we could judge a game plan on that. No effort. I actually turned around 20 minutes into the first quarter and stated that this could blow out to 100 points. We didn't look like scoring at any point of the game. You're getting embarrassed when Hardingham is tearing you a new one and the team that's winning fans go home at halftime.
Maybe.
Yes.
Oh.
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh.
I think it's like, okay, I was there. I went with 7 Bombers supporters and 1 other Carlton supporter. And it was a reflection of the game that the Bombers fans weren't even teasing me because I think they saw the look on my face. I find it really hard to stomach a game when you know about 15 minutes into the first quarter that you're going to get pantsed. There was I can take 2 positives out of it. That was Buckley. I think everybody knows that I have a little bit of a creepy crush on him. And he only cemented that last week because he was really the only one who actually had any guts. He gave it to Goddard. Didn't get protected, but that's another story. I'm focusing on the positives. And obviously Menzel as well. Those 2 kids would do anything for the privilege of playing in our Guernsey, which makes me happy. I think I always try and see the brighter side, so I'm going to stop there.
Fair enough. So 7 Essendon supporters, you say. You sure you actually went to the game and not to a stage production of Snow White and the 7 Dorks?
I went to the game, and do you want to know something awful? Was that at the start of the season, one of my cousins and I, he's a Bomber supporter, made a deal that if Carlton beat Essendon, he had to change his Facebook profile picture to the Carlton logo and vice versa for 24 hours. So I had to have the Essendon logo for my profile pic for 24 hours, and oh my gosh, I still feel dirty about it. So that was.
I embarrassed
it
myself.
wasn't my favourite Sunday.
Shame.
Yeah, it does. Don't feel too bad, maybe. I embarrassed myself the week before by giving it to Richmond supporters before we played them. Even changing my profile picture to Trent Cotchin after the siren went, after the elimination final with the score in the bottom corner. That didn't reflect too well after we lost to them.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No, you're right. There's just a difference between maybe having to do that and you embarrassing yourself, happy dude, since it happens on a weekly basis.
Yeah, but usually not that badly.
But I stayed to the end. Not many people stayed to the end.
I'd work a couple of hours after the game finished, so I had to get home and get my hour's sleep.
Yeah. No, I sat there, I listened to the whole Essendon theme song because I make myself go through that whether we win, lose or draw. Even though they don't play a song after draw, so that, okay, win or lose. But it was awful. It was hell.
We might throw it over to the new guy, Toad. How did you see it?
I'm perplexed at how bad they played. I didn't think that after all the preseason training and all the hype surrounding how we're going to be a better side this year, that rubbish was just ridiculous. There was no structure. I watched the first half. That's all I could stomach, and I saw nothing. It was just embarrassing. It was like, as I said on one of the posts I put, it was like the under six. I was kicked side I used to coach. There was just Essendon did it with ease. They kicked goals. It took 7 to take them 3 seconds and take us 15 minutes of pitch farting around. Then we'd give them a goal anyway. So I was just really that's what's thrown me the most is how we could play so badly. After, apparently I didn't see the Richmond game because I was on a boat somewhere, but apparently we were fairly competitive. And then to go and just that rubbish up was just amazing to me. That's pretty much it for me so far.
And Shandog, have you self-censored while you've been waiting?
Yeah, I have, yeah. Oh, look, it's hard to take anything away from that game. I mean, clearly nothing went to plan whatsoever. I don't think anyone really won their position at all. As Toad said, everyone looked lost out there. It was like there was no cohesion, no teamwork, no effort, and I don't know where you go from that. How do you even analyse a game of that sort of, when your players put in that sort of performance? I think you've just got to scratch a line through it and say that was absolute shizen, and now we have to refocus and to switch on again, go into the next game, and just sort of go on from there. So as far as someone commenting on the game goes, I think I'll pretty much do the same.
Yeah, as you said, it's a really hard game to get a handle on, and maybe we should just put a line through it. But, I mean, statistically, we're a couple up in clearances, couple down in contested possessions, all very even. 6 up in tackles, well ahead in the headouts, about 30 there, as you'd expect with Essendon not having a recognised ruckman. The marking inside 50, 21-7 to Essendon. Inside 50s altogether, 55-29. I believe that's our lowest in about a decade. Disposals overall, so these are all uncontested disposals, were 129 down, and overall marks 150-77, double the amount of marks. But the funny thing is, it wasn't their pace and their breaking lines, because running bounces were 12-3 to Carlton, and their 3 bounces were by Danaher. So it's not like they were breaking lines. It was purely this that they were running for each other. And just their work rate, finding space and playing an uncontested game that we just had no idea how to combat. Every single Essendon player had an efficiency rating of 67.9% or better. Carlton had only 11 above that mark. 12 of their players had 20 disposals or more. We had 5. They only had 1 player that had single-figure disposals. We had 7 players that had single-figure disposals. You can see it's purely our skills in spotting up each other and working to get into space for each other, based on those stats. And But it's funny, you think about work rate, and if it's all work rate, yet half the time we look knackered before the opposition does, even though we're not working as hard as them. So I really don't know what to make of it.
And looking at those stats that you brought up as well, I think it just goes to show how much stats can lie as well. I mean, you're talking about how we were pretty close with contested possessions, we won the clearances, all that sort of thing. I think that just proves to you, at the end of the day, we lost by 80 plus points and we looked terrible the whole time. Stats lie consistently. It's not how many clearances you get, it's the quality of the clearances. And we've been talking about the last couple of weeks about how poor our foot skills have been, and we've been turning the ball over and all that sort of stuff. And I think that just reinforces it again. Yeah,
that's why you've got to read it with those efficiency ratings, and we've been well down the whole season. Really, we've been deplorable in that regard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of a lack of fitness and a lack of application, though. Because,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's astounding that these guys get paid so much money to, like, kick goals. They can't do that. Run for a couple of hours. They can't do that. Lay a tackle. They don't do that. They were more interested in chasing the potential handball target than actually tackling anybody. I mean, it's just frustrating as someone watching the game.
I've just written that down. Like, there was, in the off-season, about those 22 players that had surgery off-season. Is that...
Yeah.
We put lack of fitness down to that? I mean, there's a lot of players to have surgery. And they generally look unfit. They run out there and, half a foot away, they're all hot, hands on their knees, gasping for air after, 15, 20 minutes of football. And, is that one of the reasons?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can probably come up with a myriad of reasons, but it's really hard from the outside looking in knowing what the problem is, because it seems like everything is potentially a problem for us at the moment.
It's time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game, and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it. All about your debt, and if you can pay it. It's all about pain, and who's gonna make it?
Just in regards to the game plan in general, apparently Carlton players were consulted about mixed game plan. So just to see whether they were buying into it, whether they liked the game plan or whether they wanted the game plan. Not so much. I think it was portrayed in the media as having a vote on it, and I don't think that's what happened. And of course, the result came back a resounding that they're backing mixed game plan to the hilt. And I really didn't expect it was a pointless exercise, because I didn't expect anybody to stand up to the coach's game plan and say, no, we don't like it. Knowing what happened to Laidler last year when he wasn't didn't get in bed with what Mick wanted. So, but Jamison has said that the second half of the Tigers game is the game plan that Mick wants them to play. But I can't figure out what we've been playing the rest of the time, and why our game doesn't look more like that second half of the Tigers game.
I think they're not fit enough to do it for a full 4 quarters for a start, a lot of them. And it's like they forget what they're there for, and they don't work with each other, they don't talk to each other. 18 individual dudes running around. They're not cohesive at all.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. I thought we played much better last year.
Oh. Well, so
we've
comparing
gone so far backwards.
Comparing 3 games this year to all of last year, at times we definitely played much better, especially in that Hawthorn game last year when we nearly won.
But even the first 3 games of last year, I'm saying, we didn't lose any games by over 80 points in the first 3 rounds last year.
It's our biggest loss in a long time.
Yeah.
The 80 points. Interesting to note, it's the first time Carlton's gone 0-3 in their first 3 games of the year, ever. 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row.
Yeah. We've never done it twice in a row. We've always come out and won another one.
One
of them, it's a record-breaking team.
One of the main things I saw on the weekend was the team, as Mebby said, was the teamwork. I mean, Essendon was just so switched on and so much in sync with each other. And we looked like a bunch of kindergarten kids running around. That was one of the massive differences that I saw, was the fact that they knew what was going on. They knew exactly where to look when they got the ball. It was like they would line stuff, close to the ice and they'd still find someone. Where it took us, ages to try and find a player for free. And that was one of the big standout things that I saw the week.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't have any sort of comeback against them in the second half to sort of minimise the margin, because this sort of loss you can't hide from. They really have to start. They really have to look at each other and look at themselves. I know, we've felt like that before, but really, when you start to come back even a little bit, you can say, towards the end it didn't look as bad, whereas this was just a whole 4 quarters of getting absolutely pantsed. I remember a couple of years ago, we beat Essendon by 16 goals, and they didn't have to go backwards to go forwards.
Yeah. It was by the end, it was starting to feel a little bit cathartic, because you think, well, rather than make some sort of token comeback and another loss, it's really good to lay it bare for everybody to see, and force something to happen. So it was a little bit of therapy in the end, and I remember feeling that way back when Dennis Pagan got the chop after the Lions carved us up by about 20 goals at the Gabba. You just think it's kind of something that has to happen just so you're not papering over the cracks anymore.
Yeah. So who wants some stats for us so far this season?
Sorry? I don't know if that's fair. I don't know if I want to hear them.
I don't want them, but you're going to say them.
Alright, Carlton so far this season are ranked 17th in the league for kicks per game, 18th in the league for handballs per game, 18th in the league for disposals per game, 15th in the league for marks per game, 12th for points, 16th for tackles.
Yay!
So we don't get the ball, and we don't go after the ball, and we don't dispose of the ball because we never have it in the first place. So we just stand around basically and do nothing.
Yeah, that seems like three critical areas we should probably address.
Here's a good one. We're ranked 4th for hit-outs.
Yay!
You don't have the hit-outs to advantage stats, do you?
No, they don't. But here we go. 15th for inside 50s per game, 13th for contested possessions, 18th for uncontested possessions, 18th for effective disposals, 12th for contested marks, 15th for rebound 50s. However, we are 5th for marks inside 50. So when we get it down, we actually do take marks inside our 50. We're just not getting it there, which then highlights our midfield issues.
Yeah.
Just to confirm though, 18th being the best or the worst?
18th being the worst. When you come 18th in a race, you're not being the best.
Okay, I was just hoping. It was a long shot.
Our midfield problems, it seems to me that we don't have skillful big bodies in the middle. So our clearances are all hacked forward. But the big issue is, even though we are hacking it forward every week and not going forward with a lot of system because we don't have players in the middle, we don't have big body players with enough skill and vision to get a clearance out. Our forwards, I don't know what they're doing, because the opposition is standing in those holes 30 to 40 metres away from the clearance and marking at will and running it out at will, and our forwards just seem to be nowhere. You'd think if we're predictable to everybody but ourselves.
Who are our forwards? We've got Waite, and who else is there that's a forward? I mean,
if you're going by the Essendon game, our forwards are Danaher, Hardingham. All those guys were kicking it too.
And that's the thing too. A lot of people have brought up, myself included. If we're going to hack the ball out of stoppages and contested sort of situations, that's all well and good. But then why aren't we setting up ahead of the ball for that? That's the thing that is just so hard to comprehend.
You've got to win it back, and they don't even move.
No, the amount of time we get the ball, and then we get to about just on our half forward line, and no one's leading at all in the forward line. Everyone just stands flat-footed and goes, oh yeah, I might be able to have it. And they kick it to them. By the time the ball gets there, opposition players are swarming.
Yeah. It almost looks like a rugby game plan in that you purposely turn the ball over to the opposition, because then you run and you defend the ball so hard you force them to turn it over, but you've got it in your scoring area. But they just turn it over. They don't actually execute the rest of it.
Yeah, maybe. Or you think we're clearing it from the ruck and hoping for a line out?
Maybe. Wrong thought, guys.
Well, if we've got Warnock there for the line outs, that'd be fine. But wow, we've certainly got the players for the ruck, to get in the rucks and mauls, so we'd be okay in it. Maybe that's our problem. We need to change sports.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. What they're doing at the moment isn't working.
No, when
they're preparing us for it.
After play rugby, no chance. They're way too soft to go anywhere near the rugby field. That would be.
Well, Dennis Armfield might get a game. He used to play rugby, didn't he?
Yeah, he can play on the wing.
Yeah. Oh dear.
I think that it emphasised that I didn't think he was that big of a loss, but I reckon that the way that the ball gets cleared out of our four line so easy is it just highlights how much we miss Mr. Eddie Betts, I think, personally.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well this game.
He was always there. If the ball dropped, he was always hovering there about, and whether he kicked a goal or created a contest, it was all irrelevant. He was always there, but he was doing that for them Adelaide suck asses, so big loss.
Yeah, and I know we're going to touch on it later, but I think the club has identified the forward line as a massive problem here, and we've seen Garlett has been dropped as well as weight, which, like I said, I'm sure we'll talk about in the future in this podcast. But it looks like that's something they've identified as a problem, our forward pressure.
And it's time once again for On Fire and Under the Pump. And up this week doing On Fire, it's myself. Yes, I've volunteered to take the bullet this week because there's not really a lot of On Fire going on around Carlton at the moment. So I'm going to cheat a little bit, and my On Fire is the Northern Blues. On the weekend, they came from 6 goals down in the third quarter to beat Williamstown by 4 points. Patrick Cripps, 34 disposals, 5 tackles, 4 marks and a goal. Racked up the clearances and contested possessions. Tom Tomei, 15 disposals, 4 goals, 5 marks, 3 tackles. Nick Graham, 25 disposals, 9 marks, 4 tackles and a goal. Scotland, 27 disposals, 1 goal, 8 marks. Casbolt, 16 disposals, 12 marks. 4 contested marks out of that. That's what we like to see from the big guy, and that's what's going to get it back in the side. Sam Doherty in his first game back from injury, 20 disposals, 7 marks and a goal. Kieran Sheehan had 10 disposals and a goal, and that's good to see from a guy still learning the game. Cameron Giles, 12 disposals, 5 marks. Even Bootsma, 21 disposals, 11 marks. And in the development league, Kieran Byrne, 3 goals, and I saw the highlights of that, and he looked pretty impressive. So, for all those looking at the seniors and how badly they went, and wondering what we had in the VFL that could come in and replace them, that was a very, very timely performance by the Northern Blues.
Absolutely.
And anybody you're particularly excited to hear about out of those stats?
I
think
obviously. Sorry,
everyone,
let's all got
apparently.
one.
Yeah. any week Williamstown loses is a good week.
I saw the highlights of that Kieran bloke, the Irish guy in the development league, and he was very impressive for his first game of AFL footy. I was very, very impressed. He's looks like he knows what's going on, and I think he could have a big future in the game, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, he rips in, doesn't he? He was taking a lot of marks on the chest. So we'll just have to see how he goes, marking out in front of his body, in front of his face, because he's going to have to do that if he's going to step up a bit further. But that was one out of the box. And one of his goals on the run, where he kicked it sort of in Gaelic fashion, sort of curved the ball in. That was something to behold. So those guys have all the foot skills in the world. So hopefully,
that was on the opposite foot, wasn't it?
I don't know. What is it? Is he a right footer? So
I think he definitely kicked one on his non-preferred. So that was the thing that impressed me a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, great to see. And all right, for Under the Pump, the Toad has got something for us. What have you got?
Robbie Warnock.
Always a favourite topic around the podcast, I tell you.
Honestly, how is he still getting a game in the seniors? I mean, the bloke's about 400 foot tall and takes 1 mark for the game. He's 5 foot taller than everybody else, yet 1 mark. Seriously, 1 mark. I mean, my God. How can someone be so bad? He come to Carlton in a blaze of glory and all, big dollars, and was going to be our next saviour, and I've seen nothing from him yet so far. His second efforts aren't there, but I suppose when you're 400 foot tall, it's pretty hard to bend over. But still, I personally think he needs a foot right up his backside because he doesn't seem to be interested. He doesn't seem to care. He's out there plodding along, tapping it here. Fine, we get lots of tap. We win the rucks most times, and as we should, because he's, as I said, 85 foot tall. But he's just not good enough to be a senior footballer. I mean, we've got Cameron Wood in the background. Bring him in, piss Warnock off to the seconds, give Wood a shot, get him back in the twos and teach me a bit more about it. He's just, not good enough. Get rid of him. Gone. There you go. Done.
There you go. There you go. Well, a step ladder on the way to the Toad so we can reach Robbie Warnock's backside, apparently. So
he thinks we should get Wood in.
Oh, dude.
I'd love to hear that sort of a particular piece of audio up against at the same time Wookie's sarcastic plugging of Warnock last week as well, and it's amazing how quickly things change from 1 week.
He was just so into it.
That's what really frustrates me is 1 week, and I know Wookie was being sarcastic, but a lot of other people weren't. And 1 week, Warnock's their hero, and they're giving him 4 or 5 votes or whatever. And the next week, they're like, he's useless, he's terrible, he needs to be dropped, blah blah blah. Like, it's round 3. Can we not swing the axe too crazily yet? I understand that he didn't do what exactly is required, but nobody did. Nobody.
That's true. It's hard to pick out a victim out of that team effort, isn't it?
Yeah,
there was no team effort.
I have to defend Wookie's opinion. He wasn't sarcastic. He was actually, I even spoke to him last night, and he was disappointed that he went from being so good to not so good. He genuinely rated his game against Richmond.
Modern football, though, you can't have a 15-foot tall person who doesn't provide anything else around the ground.
I totally agree. Lamppost.
Well, why not when we've got every other player who doesn't offer anything around the ground?
Look,
just because he's tall?
No, we're not defending everyone else. We're just saying, as far as the issue of Ruck goes, we can't have someone that just taps and doesn't win. All our other players, based on Sunday's game, need to up and perform. But Warnock, most games during the season that aren't finals or aren't big games, he doesn't tend to step up in. He's a big game player. He plays well in finals and those bigger games. But 90% of the season, during a regular season, he just taps and then he'll get 1 or 2 kicks for the game, and that's it.
So what's our alternative, Cameron Wood, who I don't think played a senior game at all last year?
No, because he wasn't on the list last year, I don't think.
No, he was on a VFL list. Okay, so he only played VFL last year. There's a huge difference between VFL and AFL, and so you're going to have Cameron Wood as our number 1 ruck and Rowe or Casbolt giving him the chop out when we had Gibbs in the ruck last week.
Yeah, but to defend the people who were calling for Warnock's head to be put on a stake, I think the reason behind that is the fact that when we went into this game against Essendon, who was rucking for them? Danaher and Carlisle. Yeah, I mean, exactly my point. The fact that we got so smashed out of the middle, and as we discussed earlier, the stats might say that we got a lot of clearances, but they were crap, realistically, and our ball use was pathetic. So when we clearly get dominated so badly out of the middle, when Warnock is rucking, winning all the hits, and a number of times Danaher, Carlisle ran off him, went forward, provided as a link-up man, or up forward as forwards kicking goals, you can sort of understand why people get really upset about it. They're like, what the hell does Warnock provide?
I get it. I get what you're saying, but I just think, look, the alternative is not that much better. And I think us not winning the clearances has a lot to do with the fact that our midfield is terrible at the moment.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's a two-way street. I'm with you on that one. Our ruckmen have, number 1, got to win the tap, and then the midfielders, number 2, have got to take advantage of that. I'm 100% with you on that. But, it's hard to defend Warnock.
Yeah, I'm not blaming Warnock for clearances because that's the midfield's job. Warnock just has to tap it down to him. What I'm blaming Warnock for is the ruckman needs to be the link-up player between the back and the forward when it's all congested. You kick it to him, he takes a mark on the wing, and then he can kick it down to the next person, and he just doesn't do that. He never does that. That's the problem. Our alternative is Wood, who didn't play an AFL game, but that's only because Cruz is injured. And if that's who we've picked, Warnock, like, seriously, we could pick a plethora of other people to do that.
But Warnock, he gets the taps, which is fine, but he does nothing else around the ground. What would redeem him in my eyes, if he went down the forward line and took some marks and kicked a couple of goals, or even took marks around the ground, fine, because he's pretty much useless. He can't the ball because he's big. But he does nothing. He taps it out, and then he becomes invisible. You lumber ground.
Yes, I'll sit down on a deck chair and wait.
Whereas Cameron Wood would probably lose all the taps, so he would take a couple of marks and kick a couple of goals, and he does get back in defence to help out a little bit.
I hear what you're saying. There's pros and cons of both, but I just think that sometimes, and I'm not saying you guys are doing it, but sometimes people are much quicker to bag out Warnock than they are any other player on the list.
We've definitely all been a bit fickle.
I'm usually an avid defender of Warnock.
All right, I think this is going to call for a listener poll, so all our listeners out there...
I'm going to lose, I know that.
No, the listener poll...
It's
you haven't heard the poll yet, Abby. The poll is...
What's your favourite colour?
The poll is, how tall is Robert Warnock? We've got 500 foot, 80 foot, and 15 foot. If somebody could come and call into the podcast and let us know. Thank you very much.
I think I said all three of them in one sentence, didn't I?
I think you might have.
Yep.
It was gradually getting smaller, so by the end of the season he'll be Eddie Betts' replacement and kicking goals.
He's the counter Nathan Fife, where he's just getting smaller, whereas Nathan Fife's just constantly getting taller and bigger.
Yeah, well, so shouldn't we be playing Cripps in the ruck? He's got to be about 8 foot tall at the moment.
Got to give him another couple of weeks.
Okay. Moving on.
Sure showed me.
All right, I'm gonna shush you guys up and move on to the next segment. I think we're all Warnocked out.
Yeah.
Okay, and now it's time for Boardwalk. First up on Boardwalk, I just want to remind everybody that the Poster of the Month for April nomination thread is up. So if you see anybody who's worth quoting and worth rewarding...
or really hilarious.
So look, or any other category that Happy Dude might fit into, for example. Go into that nomination thread and put their name forward and let us know why you want to nominate them. And Etzal1 is it was our March winner, and she can't be nominated again. But Mebby, for example, she missed out on her nomination. She missed out on last month. She was nominated and missed out, and so did Harker. They're completely eligible to be voted for again. Or you might have somebody else in mind.
They're like Happy Dude.
Yeah. I mean,
or anybody else, anybody at all.
Stranger things can happen. Stranger things can happen. You can reward people for their contribution to podcasts. That's all part of the BigFooty Blues experience.
Or the Blue Room.
Well, then I should get a nomination for the Ralph and Robbie Warnock and my stellar effort in the Blue Room. There you go.
Yep.
Well, look, you can't nominate yourself. Maybe you guys will go in and nominate each other. As far as decent threads go on the boards this week, there's a couple that have resurfaced. There's a thread started by Harker in 2012 called The President, and that's reignited somewhat because everything is wrong with the navy blue at the moment. Obviously they're looking at who's on our board and who needs to step aside and the fresh blood that needs to come in onto the board, and sticks Kernahan's in the gun once more. Harker also has another one started late last year. It's a 2014 list thread talking about the Carlton list and what we need to do at the end of the year, who you need to list and what sort of players we should be looking for. And understandably, when the whole list is in question, that list thread's going to get a fair workout. And I wanted to make a special mention of Invisiblues, Let Gibbs Walk So We Can Throw the Kitchen Sink at Frawley thread, which has over 500 posts in about a week. So that's going great guns. Anybody else see anything worth noting on the boards this week?
Yeah, I think there was a great one, Coach for a Week, started by Scomac. I think that was a really good, well-timed thread. What would you do with the club sort of theme there if you were the coach? And I think there's been some great responses there, so that's been really interesting to read.
What's also notable when people start threads like that is there's a lot of very vocal supporters who really can't put themselves in the position of a coach. So, you know, those that do want to put their opinions out there and let everyone know what they would do with the tactics and the lineup, kudos to them, because it's not as easy as people think. Moving right along, this Saturday afternoon, Carlton take on Melbourne at the MCG. We've won our last 7 encounters against the Demons by an average of 53 points. Our ins this week, Cripps, yes.
Yay!
Yeah!
Lucas.
Yay!
Yay!
Scotland.
Yay!
And Casbolt.
Yeah!
Yay!
Out. White. Bell and Garlett. Quite interesting. Our emergencies for this game are Watson, Graham and Bell. The interesting outs there were obviously Waite and Garlett. There's supposed to be a bit of rain around at the G this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to pour.
Like 4 days, so even if it stops now, it'll still be soaking.
So that's going to even the game up and give the Demons a bit more of a shot. Not that they didn't have one before, but but so maybe that's the reason Waite's been dropped. People haven't been happy with his form. I think he was okay the first two rounds. Obviously, it wasn't that good.
Not against Richmond.
Well, no, his goal kicking wasn't.
Richmond.
His efforts were fine, but his goal kicking was off.
Even his marks, he was dropping marks he normally takes against Richmond. He just had an off night, I felt.
Yeah.
Essendon just didn't get to him.
But certainly, I think a lot of people would feel that Jeff Garlett needed a wake-up call, and he's
Yeah. So I think that needed to happen, definitely.
Do you think he's struggling since Eddie's gone? Do you think he's a little bit lost without his amigo brother there?
Well, I thought he would step up and do better without Eddie there, but I feel like he's gone backwards. But then, I don't know, because last year I distinctly remember thinking that he had the yips or something. I feel like he's been kicking points for a long time.
Yeah, he did go through that last year. I think this year it's more now he's getting the number one small forward defender, whereas Eddie used to take that role.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the lineup right now for the Saturday's game. If they line up like it's named, I like it. It's good. So, but as we all know, they never line up as they're announced. So, that's full forward, and I actually think he's going to play at full forward. That's just my opinion. He's lined up there at the start every week so far.
Has he?
Okay. Like I said, I haven't watched the footage.
At the start of the game he has anyway.
We need someone to kick the ball to. That's where we're struggling. We have no one. That's where, once we'll get back to Warnock, sorry, but he's in the forward line. He's got to take marks. We need someone, because if we do bomb the ball forward, we've got someone that can take marks. Maybe we'll actually, get a couple of goals. But at the moment, there's no one there. And Levi's in because he can mark anything, which is good. So I'm happy with him coming in. But I'm actually happy with his side. It looks pretty good.
Yeah. So Chris Dawes comes back from Melbourne. And I'm thinking, sort of size and strength-wise, Rowe's not a bad matchup, but Dawes pretty good at getting out there on the lead. So
he hasn't played for a while, has he?
No, he hasn't. But he's you'd imagine he's right to go. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the Melbourne forward line hasn't been very strong so far this year. They've had a few out, so I'm not sure how they're looking, because Rowe and Jamison are going to be our key defenders. And who's the third tall defender down there? I don't think we've got one.
Everett's down there, I suppose.
Everett, yeah.
Everett.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But in a wet game, it's really going to be about a little bit about fitness and tenacity. And I can see Melbourne have got a few players in there that will take it when the skill level's gone out of the game. They'll take it up to us a little bit. So it's not.
When's the last time we've played Melbourne when it hasn't rained?
Last year. Oh. Did it rain last year?
Yeah, it was last year. No, it didn't rain last year.
Yeah, it didn't rain.
Yeah, there you go. There. I remember.
Good question.
There was one recently where it didn't rain, but other than that, for like 5 or 6 years, it's been raining when we've played Melbourne at the MCG. But I know there was one recently where it didn't.
Yeah, because that was the twilight game, and I got there at 11 o'clock. It was really good. 4 hours before a game started, so it was.
So
I'm actually still concerned about this game. I'm not confident. Well, I'm a little bit confident, but I'm very, very worried about this game. To be honest, the way we've been playing.
I'm worried about every game the way we've been playing. But
if we run out like we did against Essendon, they'll beat us. If we run out like we did against Port or Richmond, we should win.
We're going to win, you guys.
Yeah, I'm with Mebby.
It's a little bit strange. Should we have been leaving Bell in the side given the conditions?
There might be a late change.
Well, yeah, he is on the emergency, so yeah, possibly. It just seems that I understand one of Bell or Robinson probably had to get out of the side given their skill level of late, but those sort of conditions are right up his alley.
I think Robbo in the conditions as well will thrive. He loves the scrappy in and under type footy, and I think he'll be right for this sort of stuff. So that's probably why he saved his spot. That's probably the only reason he's in the side.
Yeah. Conversely, it's not really good conditions for Lucas to come back, and it's probably not good conditions for a contested marking forward and Casbolt to be coming back.
Yeah, I feel bad if they have ordinary games when they come back here, and then people start calling for the heads of Lucas and Casbolt when, if it is pouring with rain, it's probably not a time we'd expect them to do very well anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exciting to see Cripps named though. I'm so looking forward to seeing him.
I'm doing a Cripps sign thing with my hands.
You are so gangster, Shandog. You're like Snoop Dogg.
Oh, the sad thing about him debuting against Melbourne is there goes all my jokes about him debuting against Sydney, so it could be Cripps versus the Bloods.
Oh, that would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh well, no. Look, I think he's the future of our as far as our inside mids go. While all these hard-bodied, tall mids are around, and that's the trend at the moment. We need one with skill and vision, so size, skill, and vision. But taking us back to the days of Cooter in the midfield after he did his knee and sort of reinvented himself. Just as I guess over the next couple of years, he's going to be standing tall on a lot of tackles, and his vision in getting the ball to our advantage is fantastic. If we can develop our midfield to read what our ruckmen are doing and B, feed off Cripps and know where he's going. He's going to be a tall version of Diesel in my opinion, and just the way he started in the VFL has me more excited than I guess any first year player that I've seen for a while.
I think that's the key. Our midfielders need to learn how each other play, and that's once that happens, once they can read each other's body language and where they're going to go, I think that's when we'll actually start to shoot them together. And I think, as you're right, Odin, I think he's probably the future. That's good, very exciting times.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think we've done enough damage tonight. We'll leave it there. I want to say thank you to the Toad for coming on. Good first hit out.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thanks, Happy Dude.
Yeah, you're all welcome.
Thanks, Snoop Dogg.
Go Carlton, I still love you.
Thanks, Mevy.
Thanks, guys.
See you later, everybody. Catch you next week.
Have a day.
Bye-bye.